Reclamation is actually a bit of a unique mission because you really do need to have a second character and system. I say that because you're going to be taking a lot of fighter damage, and the new AI actually rips apart fighters, and that's I've tried doing it in a Revelation, I've tried doing it in a Phoenix, and the carrier actually works best in this setup. For the Archon setup, we're going to make sure that we have large collidable structure is checked, and in this mission you have to destroy what's called a colony and one Japanese named ship. We're going to take a look on scan. The setup on the Archon is more or less a basic kit, same as Wormslayer. You've got one thermic, one kinetic, and you have a reactive armor hardener which will adjust depending on the damage type. All cap chargers, capital remote repper, and capital repper and cap rigs. This means that cap is not going to be an issue, but what may be an issue in this mission is being jammed, and Caldari does a lot of jamming. Usually at the initial stages you're not going to get jammed in this mission because you're not going to have that many NPCs shooting at you, but if you let the mission escalate, the chances of you managing to complete it without getting jammed is going to be greatly diminished, and then you have to switch your drones to something like aggressive to see if you can pick off the NPCs, but while your drones are getting ripped apart, then it just becomes a little bit of a clusterfuck. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock the colony first thing, and we're going to be making speed back towards our initial station while we keep an eye on scan. Again, keep a stab on your ship because you never know if you're going to be jammed. Sometimes you're warp scrammed, and sometimes people do probe you out. You might get unlucky. We're going to launch fighters, and once fighters are out, we're going to actually send them to the colony. Once these fighters manage to get all the way down, and I'll give you an example, they're going to travel a bit of distance, so it's roughly about 60 kilometers away. It takes them about 20 seconds to get there because they're traveling not super slow, but it takes a bit of time. And when your fighters are taking damage, you don't want to recall them and have them slow boat to you because they're going to get picked off, and you'll see there's a few slivers of red here because for some reason there's this universal damage that appears. You'll lock the Shakura Nagashin, and as soon as that ship is locked, you switch over to him while your fighters are picking over the colony. The objectives of this mission are to destroy the colony and kill the Japanese ship. Once those are done, you're finished and you warp out. If your fighters start taking too much damage, like this fighter is, you delegate control to your Sino alt and it'll automatically spawn out. There's no travel time, and then you can pull them back and have them come into your drone bay. That prevents your fighters from getting overly damaged, but it also allows you to save a little bit of grief because you don't actually lose fighters, and those bitches are about 22 million a pop right now. So once it loses a little bit too much, you might say, okay, I'm fine with it losing a little bit of armor. You're going to see some of the other fighters are also going to be taking, and I have level 5 durability on my fighters, so they have a lot of hit points, but they're not the strongest things in the world, and as you'll see, the Shakuro Nagasin is dropping down relatively quickly, and in a second we're going to be switching over to the colony. And any second now, she's down, so we're now going to start switching. Some people like targeting their fighters. You can do that if you want to have them come to you. You can also remote rep them and have the NPC AI shooting at them. But again, it's more of an iffy thing. If you find the armor goes too much, you allocate control to your alt, to your Sino alt. The fighter will disappear like this guy. I didn't see that happening, and it goes to Cube Kill 2, and boom, it's gone. Instantly return to drone bay, and it'll automatically go back to your drone bay. Let the other fighters focus on. And while this colony structure is done, now we're going to be returning to drone bay. They're going to start slow boating it back. And this is where sometimes you'll find some drones will get overly damaged. And the mission is now complete. One colony, the Japanese ship, and we can do a capital remote rep, and you can repair your fighters while they're on their way back to you. Nothing on scan, it's all good. The drone in space does do warp, so it does warp a little bit slow. Keep that in mind. It's not, that they completely suck, but he just appeared. It takes him a few seconds to come back into your ship, but they will return to your drone bay. And we've got one guy, I think he's being webbed. And as you'll see, his armor is dropping relatively quickly. If he can get out of range, there we go, he's inside, and we are done. Let's warp out. So, go in, go for the colony, kill the Japanese ship, keep an eye on your fighters, and then move out. But you'll notice that they will get damaged. Don't panic, delegate them to your alt, and then recall them. and that is Reclamation.